Yeah, first off, want to wish happy birthday to Charlie Cheese Harbison, who's the youngest 61-year-old man I've ever met. He's an incredible asset to our staff, and just hope that he has a great birthday on Toughness Tuesday. Just to recap the Kentucky game, proud of our football team, proud of our staff and our players for finding a way to win and establishing their will in that game. Played as solid as a football game in all three phases as you can play. So I'm very proud of them for that. But we've turned the page. We are solely focused on Florida and this task ahead of us. It is a tremendous challenge. It's the fourth top 25 team that we're going to place in our first 5 games. I'm not sure anyone else in the country has played that tough of a schedule. For us, tremendous challenge. We're down to 64 scholarship players this week, and that really doesn't have anything to do with COVID. That has to do with injuries, NCAA, transfers, opt-outs, all the different things. So, realistically, we're a class down of scholarship football players, and that's really only 2 less than we had Saturday for Kentucky. So incredibly proud of our team and players as they face that challenge each week. Offensively, where it starts for them at Florida, they have tremendous amount of talent. Obviously, they've got an outstanding head football coach who also is a play caller, but they're really big and physical up front. Their lines of scrimmage, obviously offensively, they run the ball well, which establishes what they want to do and their identity, and that's always been what Coach Mullen teams do, is run the football. And then it allows them to create matchups with number one, Kadarius Toney, who is an outstanding football player, athlete, has really grown, was a high school quarterback at Blount High School in Mobile, and has really developed into an outstanding playmaker for them. Then they create matchups that are as creative as anybody in the country for their tight end, Kyle Pitts. He's dynamic. He's a mismatch problem for everybody in the country. So they've really got an outstanding scheme and an outstanding offense, which is a very difficult task. Defensively, their defensive coordinator, Todd Grantham, is one of the best in the country. He's very multiple with what he does schematically. They play man, they play zone, they have all kinds of different pressures. They'll bring corner cats, they'll bring safeties. Feels like they're bringing people off the bench on third downs. They're always long and great athletes and physical up front. Their D-line is as good as anybody we've played so far. I know there's been a lot made about the points they've given up. At no point in the Ole Miss game was that game ever in doubt. It was 52 to 21, and they scored a couple of late touchdowns and went for 2. But that game was never in doubt. And really, the South Carolina game was not either. They play defense that, gives up first down but no explosive plays and takes time off the clock. So defensively, they're really good, forced 2 turnovers, which led to points in the Texas A&M game. So got a tremendous challenge ahead of us, and got a lot of work to do today to be ready for that. So with that, I'll open up with questions.
First one's going to come from Mitchell 40 from Power Mizzou. Mitchell, go ahead.
Hey, Eli, you mentioned some injury issues to get down to 64 scholarship players. I'm curious if you could give an injury report as to who might be out this week.
Yeah, I watched a press conference yesterday where there wasn't much reporting done, so I'll just keep mine. I'll let y'all figure that out on Saturday too. So just play that game, I guess.
Peter Baugh from The Athletic. Peter.
Yeah, Eli, what does your offense kind of do to, I guess, get the most out of a guy like Jalen Knox?
I think we just try to tap into his playmaking abilities and find unique ways to get him the football. And I think that's what offensive football is about. It's about how do you utilize your skills, your skill players, and your schemes in order to get guys in space with the ball in their hand. Jalen's got a really unique skill set. He runs like a running back. He's got good speed. He's got good hands. And so, we're just always challenging ourselves. What are ways that we can get him on the perimeter? What are ways we can get him mismatched on different DBs? And he delivers.
Max Baker from the Columbia Missourian. Max.
Coach, on Saturday, you talked about Marcus Johnson's identity that he's brought. I was just wondering what that identity is what is that identity?
Marcus has a toughness to him. He has a discipline to him. He has a mentality to him that shows up in the way he coaches his position, the way he coaches, the way he carries himself. He has a standard of performance for everybody in the room, and he holds them accountable to that standard. Anytime you've played in the SEC, were a captain of your team, drafted in the second round, played in the NFL, coached multiple NFL linemen, developed NFL linemen. But when you start your career as a strength intern and work your way up to one of, I believe, 3 African-American offensive line coaches in the country, I think that says something about you as a person, your commitment, your toughness. So incredibly proud of him and who he is, and really fortunate he's on our staff.
Soichi Terada from the Kansas City Star. Go ahead.
Eli, I know you mentioned Kyle Pitts a bit, but what kind of challenges does it pose when it's a tight end, and just how much they can do in an offense?
Yeah, they split him out where they use him like an NFL, and I think that's why you hear so much about Coach Mullen eventually being a head coach in the NFL, because of the way he utilizes his players. He utilizes Pitts like they do Kittle and like they do Travis Kelce and some of the other great ones, where they line them up single receiver to the weak side and create 4x1s and make you isolate him with no underneath coverage. They do a good job of getting him matched up on Mike linebackers over the middle of the field. I saw it earlier. I think he had 175 yards and 4 touchdowns versus Ole Miss. So, they use him all kinds of ways.
Andy Humphrey from KTGR.
Yeah, Eli, last week you said that you didn't want to put too many things in front of Connor as he learns the scheme and with decision making and whatnot. Curious as to what you thought after watching the tape from Kentucky about how you would evaluate his decision making in that game and how he's grasping what you want out of him going forward.
I think he did an outstanding job on third downs. He was incredibly efficient on third downs and finding the right decisions and taking off running when he needed to. There was one decision on third down that I disagreed with. And then on base downs, there was 2 really crucial plays that I wish he could have had back. The issue is when you're a quarterback, those 3 plays can be the difference in the game. And so it's not like you can make a 90 on the test and still win the game. Those plays, you get 80, for us, we had 92 plays. 3 of them can be the difference in the game. So he's got to continue to improve, and he knows that. And that's the thing I love about him, is he is always trying to get better. He knew it before I could even start coaching him on the sideline about, I got to run and get that first down. So, incredibly proud of him for that, but he's still got a long way to go. And I got a long way to go as far as coaching him and improving as a football coach, that I can relate to him and get him better.
Seren Petro, go ahead.
Coach, early on, I know there's a tight fraternity amongst coaches, right? So I want to ask this in a general term. Early on, you were the first coach that I saw that took your players down and got them registered to vote. You've also been very outspoken in saying, hey, there's a pandemic going on. There are things that are more important than football. We hear coaches say that a lot in regard to their, to the players. Maybe some people would say it's a sales pitch to mom and dad and to the players to get into the program, but you've actually backed that up. I'm just curious, what's your opinion of how the rest of the coaching fraternity has done as far as these subject matters go? We're headed towards an election, and you guys are going through the pandemic. What do you think about how your fraternity's done?
I don't know that I don't know that I have enough collateral within the fraternity to try to make comments on the overall state of college football coaches. I'm pretty young in this profession. I will say that I'm very proud of the SEC. I do think that when we first started working on social justice issues, we had Zoom calls as SEC head coaches, and I believe all of us have initiated a voter registration opportunity for our entire team. I know that we all supported making sure that our teams had the ability to vote on Tuesday, and I think it's been a powerful thing for our conference. but I honestly, I haven't looked around the rest of the country or kept track with what everybody else is doing. But I am proud of what we are doing in the SEC.
Dave Matter from the St. Louis Post. Dave.
Hey, Eli, when maybe this is kind of becoming routine at this point, but when you're playing a team that's had a bunch of players in quarantine, is it a bit of a guessing game, or do you just go in expecting everyone to be available at this point?
Yeah, I don't really worry about it. There's no way there's no way to know, as we know in the SEC, because there's no way to know. So you just go in assuming they'll be at full strength, and we know the challenges we have. We know what kind of schemes they're going to try to run, and then we'll adjust while we're, in the game. But I don't think we're going to act like that, they're not going to have their best guys. They're going to be ready. They're going to be prepared. They've been watching our tape for 2 weeks. They're going to know our tendencies. They're going to know what we like to do. So we're going to have to go out there and play a mistake-free football game and play above our ability to have a chance to win.
Ben Arnett from KOMU. Ben.
Coach, kind of on that similar subject, how has preparation for this game changed or been different, considering the schedule change? They haven't played for a while, don't have a recent game on tape, that kind of stuff.
It really hasn't changed for us. We're into our normal game week. We were a little bit ahead. We spent at least Wednesday afternoon and Thursday of the bye week as a coaching staff game planning for the Florida game before that got rearranged. So we may have been a couple of days ahead, but starting on Sunday night, we watched Florida, and for us offensively, we started from scratch, rebuilding the game plan and trying to figure out, what we can do based off who's going to be available for us and what strengths those guys possess versus what they do defensively and working the chess match. So we'll see.
Gabe DeArmond, go ahead.
Yeah, Eli, with Damon Hazelton missing a little bit of time, and then last week on the depth chart he was a little bit lower than he had been. Were you happy with how he responded? He was active, especially very early in that game.
Yeah, I believe he started the game, got the first catch of the game. So thought he played well. I think he, working back into shape. I think he had somewhere between 35 plays and made the most of those and played well on the perimeter. And I was proud of the way he played. I was really proud of the way the entire wide receiver corps played. So, yeah.
Mitchell, 40.
Well, you said after the game that Larry Rountree can, I think you said, take a butt chewing.
Yeah.
How rare is it to find a player who has, the ability to have the humility to be coached or to be coachable, but also kind of the mindset and the willingness to handle a workload like 37 carries?
It's rare. That's what makes Larry elite. I think there's times when we get into these situations and you recruit kids for so long that they forget that the moment they step foot on campus, they got to continue to work to improve. And, there's got to be a humility in being coached and being coachable and understanding that in order to become the best version of yourself, you have to allow people to have constructive criticism. And it's not always going to be roses and pie in the sky and balloons. There's going to be some tough conversations, and this is where your weakness. And nobody likes to hear about their weaknesses. Everybody just would prefer to have their graphics put up on social media all day. But the reality of it is that when you want to improve, you have to improve your weaknesses, and you got to look at your weaknesses and say, how do I build these up? And Larry's willing to do that, and his parents have done an outstanding job raising him. I don't think there's a better smile. He's got an outstanding smile. He's got a great charisma about him. The only negative he has is he's not very good at comparisons. He struggled comparing linebackers. I think he was trying to say Brian Urlacher. So we got to work with him on his comparisons. We talk about not having those, but other than that, he'll take that chewing today. But other than that, he's good.
Kyle Pinnell from the Maneater, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Over the past few weeks, you guys have won games by scoring 45 and 20 points. As a coach, how do you prepare for, are there differences between a low scoring game or what you project to be a low scoring game versus high scoring game? And then kind of what does it say about this team to be able to play two contrasting styles of games and come out with wins both times?
I mean, to me, that's the mark of a team, and that's the mark of coaching. Each game is different, and the teams that can adjust their style in order to find a way to win are the teams that usually are the most successful. When you get stuck in one style, then people can find ways, they know exactly what to do to beat you. For us, we're able to win in multiple ways. And I think it has the ability to play off each other. When the defense is playing really well, offensively, you don't need to take as many chances. You don't want to put them in a bad position with turnovers like we had the previous week. We had put them in bad positions with turnovers and needed to make up the ground that we were giving up, and so it's just one of those deals where it kind of goes back and forth. And going into the game, we always go over our keys to victory on Tuesday for each side of the ball and special teams, and focus on specifically what we need to do in order to give us the best chance to win. And we knew that the style of play that Kentucky had, this was a way that we felt like we could effectively execute and beat them. And so that's what we did.
Eric Blum from the Columbia Daily Tribune. Eric.
Eli, on Saturday, Nick Bolton told us that he thinks Josh Bledsoe plays maybe the hardest, but maybe the most rewarding position on the defense. Do you think that's an apt statement? I know you don't want to speak for your players, but do you think that's an apt statement? And if so, what makes the position that Josh Bledsoe plays the hardest, but yet the most rewarding?
I definitely concur with Nick that it is a very difficult position, the way we play it, what we do defensively, just the amount of communication, the amount of different techniques that he has to have, the amount of times that he's placed in one-on-one situations, usually versus their fastest player, best player, and knows that he's going to be the person that they attack. And he handles it well. He's got a short memory. He's obviously really good when the football's coming at him. That play he made to seal the win with the turnover was incredible play. And so I definitely agree that he plays a very difficult position. But I'll say this: anybody that plays football plays difficult positions. There's not one that's, necessarily an easy job. They're all difficult, but his definitely gets put on SportsCenter if he doesn't do it right.
Greg Palermo, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, you touched on this with Ben a little earlier, and I won't suggest that anyone ever overlooks the next opponent, but has this environment forced you as a staff to kind of not look ahead, but be aware of the fact that you could have a schedule change come up on you pretty quickly, and that you need to quickly game plan and prepare for an opponent that you didn't expect to face that next week?
I think 2020 in general has taught us to be able to adjust. And I think it was right before our first staff meeting of the walkthroughs, I said the key word for our staff would be flexibility, and of being able to adjust based off of whatever the circumstances that are presented to us. And we've been able to do that. I mean, it's snowing yesterday in Columbia, and we'll be playing in 80-degree weather on Saturday. So the reality of it is it's all up in the air, and you do the best you can with the information you have. And, I think one thing that our staff and our team has done a really good job of is not spending a whole lot of time sitting around speculating. We're not sitting around the coffee pot speculating about what's next or what's going to happen. We're just focused on our task. We've got a problem. All right, let's fix it. We got a job to do. Let's do it. And I think that's helped us be successful.
Jack Sobel from the Maneater. Jack.
Hey, Coach. So you talked about Jalen Knox a little bit before, but a big way you guys have used him is in that pre-snap motion. What does that jet and orbit motion, whether it's with Jalen, Tyler, whoever, do for your offense?
I mean, sometimes it can give you a number count depending on how they rotate the safeties. Sometimes it can give you a speed advantage on the edge. If they're going to bounce. It causes the defense to have to communicate whether or not, again, they're going to rock and roll safeties, or they're going to bounce gaps. So I think it's more about causing the defense disruption and giving us an opportunity to create a soft edge. And if they overplay the edge, then counter them. So it just kind of goes into our OODA loop thinking.
Andrew Kaufman, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how did you inform Reese Massey that he was dismissed? And I guess what's your policy? Is it when case by case on arrests, versus getting dismissed. How are you handling arrests and who gets dismissed and who gets to stay on the team?
Yeah. Maurice Massey opted out of the football season. And I think an unintended consequences of the opt-outs, I have not had contact with Maurice since he opted out. He has been in our building. He's only been access to tutoring and trying to stay in charge of his academics. It's part of the condition for opt-out. You still have to maintain good standing with the university and in your personal life. Obviously, a disappointing situation for him to be in. Just felt like it was in the best interest of our program to move on based on the violation of the opt-out. And so each situation is handled differently. There's no hard and fast rule. We really have two rules in our program. Number one is be on time, and number two, the team comes first. And we operate under those two rules. And so that's what we did. Wish all the best in whatever the situation is for him.
Suichi Terada from the Star. Go ahead.
Hey, Eli, two-parter. I guess first one is, do you have any updates on COVID situation? Is this still knock on wood? And two, are you guys going to change anything travel-wise? It seemed like in the Tennessee game, maybe some contact tracing was kind of a struggle once you guys got back COVID tests.
We're good. But again, we tested this morning, so I never, I always hesitate to give out information. You test 3 times a week. Somebody asked me about, I think it was my brother Sunday morning at breakfast about, who do I anticipate being available this week? I said, well, we have our first test Sunday, and then we have another test Tuesday, and then we have another test Thursday. So until Thursdays or Friday morning, I got a text at 1:26 a.m. on Friday morning that told me the results last time. So until I get that text, I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows. As far as traveling goes, we will do the absolute best we possibly can. But when you put over 120 people in an organization on an airplane, there's not a lot of ways out of contact tracing. So unless we can get everybody a private plane, we're going to have to live with the consequences. If somebody gets it, there's going to be contact tracing. We all wear masks. We all do what we're supposed to do. We will expand our rooming lists to try to accommodate less people paired up. But again, that gets into being expensive and all kinds of things. So we will do the absolute very best we can, and we have learned. But again, I haven't been to this stadium before. I'm not sure what the visitors' locker room setup is. That's always a tremendous challenge when you travel into visitors' locker rooms and you put that many people in small areas. There's no uniform policy like there is in the NFL about the requirements for visitors' locker rooms. Some people brag about, how bad theirs are. I think it's, in most day and age, that would be fine, but in COVID, that's a real challenge. We'll do the very best we can. So it is what it is.
Dennis Dodd, go ahead.
Hey, Eli, I might have missed it, but are you intending on doing anything special next Tuesday for Election Day? I know you've done so much. I just wanted to catch up.
No, I know that, the Mizzou Arena is going to be one of the largest polling places in the state of in the state of Missouri. And we're very excited about that. But because of the NCAA rule, we cannot have any organized team activities. So therefore, we can't all meet and go together or do anything like that. So the players will be off Tuesday. We will encourage them to vote. I know they're all registered to vote. Our staff will have the ability to go vote. We will obviously be, excited for that. But there's no organized team activities due to NCAA rules.
Just a point of order. I did have that question for the NCAA, and they said you could take players to a polling place to vote. That was the interpret. Yeah.
Could we have a walkthrough before?
Yeah, I think so.
That's good news. Well, then we can meet them up here and walk them up to the arena. That'd be great. Seriously, so we can?
Yeah, because that's the question I had. It was like, it says countable athletic activity. And I said, so what does that even mean? They put out a statement today, at least to us, that said that well, you can load them on a bus and take them to a polling place, just because that's not an athletic activity.
Yeah. So what they're saying is rare hours. So there's the difference between CARA hours, countable athletic related activities, and then RARA, which is like team building and stuff like that. And I guess what they're saying is as long as it's not so great. Yeah. Well, we'll look into that then. I appreciate the heads up.
Yeah, no, I would putting pressure on you. That's what they said. Good luck.
Well, the NCAA, they're very they're very black and white. There's never any gray area with them.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Seren Petro, go ahead.
Coach, I'm curious with your quarterback, just overall philosophy when you've got a young quarterback. Is there kind of a mindset of like throw everything at him, throw him into the deep end, and let him kind of figure it out, or do you do it in pieces to where we're going to watch his game and what he has out there grow week by week, year by year?
I don't subscribe to the philosophy of throwing them out there and let them sink or swim. I think football in general, but specifically the quarterback position is about confidence and having confidence. And once you lose confidence or get shaky, it's tough to recover. You can't doubt yourself as a player. And if you ever start doubting yourself, that's when things are not good. So we try to help identify what his strengths are. Now, there's always going to be some certain level of struggle. There's certain level of, okay, I've still got to improve at this area, but we try to figure out what are the strengths are, build around their strengths, and then let them develop, identify the weaknesses, play to your strengths, identify your weaknesses and try to improve those. With our quarterbacks, that, no different than our team. That's what we try to do, identify what our strengths are and then play to those strengths. No, we don't have the entire system in. We don't call plays that our quarterback's not comfortable in. Every Monday when I get finished with the ready list, I show it to Connor and say, okay, what do you not feel comfortable with? I don't like this or this on Wednesdays when we're done with third downs. What do you like? What do you not like? Hey, I don't like this. Take it out. It doesn't matter if I like it. It matters if he likes it and can execute it. I think I've been doing that since I was coaching 7th grade football. I don't know if that's unique. I doubt it is. It's not about the plays that we call. It's about the plays that we can execute. And the way you execute plays is your players having confidence in themselves that they can do it, and they have confidence in their teammates that they're going to execute them.
Got time for 2 more. Dave Matter from the Post. Go ahead.
Eli, when you got this job and you kind of figured out what your roster was, and you see that you've got a running back who has gone for 1,200 yards in this league, is there kind of a sense of comfort there in knowing that you've got a guy like Larry who's done it at this level?
Yeah, I think, knowing Larry has the ability to rush for that many yards, obviously is a great thing. For us offensively, we're always going to be predicated on running the football. So that's a huge plus. But I do think that Tyler Beatty is an incredible aspect to what Larry's been able to do, because he does come in and provide a different type of runner, which keeps the defense off balance. And he also creates openings in the pass game. And so I think that 1-2 punch has really been the difference for us the last 2 games that I maybe didn't utilize well enough in the first 2 games. That's given us some, more effectiveness offensively. And we've got to continue to find ways to keep to give Tyler some of those carries. I love the fact that Larry carried it 37 times or 30-something times, but we need to get Tyler a few more touches because he made some really good runs too.
Last one comes from Jack Sobel. Jack.
The man eater.
And Ennis Rakestraw was the man in coverage on Kentucky's touchdown, and judging by what he posted on Twitter after the game, just who he is in general, he seems determined to learn from it, let it motivate him. What was your message to him after the game?
I didn't know what he put anything on Twitter, so I have no idea about that part of it. My message to him was, when we win, we sing. Celebrate the win. I know that on Sunday we looked at the tape, figured out what we did wrong, figured out, what technique or fundamental can we improve on, where do our eyes need to be. I believe he was backpedaling at the snap, which put him in a bad position on the out and up, because he wasn't in position to key his key, and also wasn't in position to transition through the break. We know that we need to transition through the outside of the break on that out-breaking route, and if it turns it up, make a collision. Hopefully they don't call it. And, and if they do, then we give up a 15-yard penalty instead of a touchdown. So we've got one of the, most dynamic coaching staffs as far as our back end with Coach Walters, Coach Gibbs, and Coach Harbison. And Coach Gibbs' ability, he's coached a lot of NFL players. He's coached the NFL, and I have full confidence that he coached him up on those specific techniques. And so, yeah, that's all we said.